Jay, welcome to Bermuda. This is not your first time here, though, is it?
No, it isn't, Dave. Yeah. This is, gee whiz, I guess it's my 7th Bermuda race, but it's about the 10th time I've been to Bermuda.
And so Temptress, what is Temptress?
So Temptress is 1993, Jim Taylor design, Mark Lindsay build, called the Taylor 41. There are only 2 of them. Jim built a lot of race boats in the 90s and Taylor 40s, 43s, 42s, and other boats, many other boats. And she's just a terrific offshore boat.
Kind of the boat you needed for this weekend?
Absolutely, absolutely. This was, I mean, we tend to do better in headwinds, whether it's light air or heavy air. But I mean, there was plenty of heavy air and downwind. She was able to keep on her feet very well, and with the rudder that was designed by Jim and built by Mark Lindsay, she kept her on her feet very, very well. We didn't have any broaches.
Most of the time. So let's get into
the
race for you guys.
Yeah.
What are the highlights?
So I'd say, one of the things that I think is really great about the Bermuda race is the start. And this start was a start like no other that I've been in, where we had a great southwesterly breeze with fog coming in at the start. And it made for some epic conditions at the start. However, within a few hours, we were in completely becalmed. We actually brought out some incense to see if we could see which way the wind was going. And after we got through that, as predicted, the northwesterly filled in. And of course, that northwesterly wind, being very unstable and cold, is very shifty. So we had anywhere from 300 to 350. And sometimes you'd get 30 degree shifts in a minute. And it oscillated like that for the entire race, really until the very last day when, the wind finally started to clock to the north, or veer to the north.
A downhill sleigh ride to Bermuda pretty rare, I understand.
It is, typically there's some reaching, there's some upwind work, but a downhill sleigh ride is very rare. I've never done one before.
So how was it for you guys? Let's walk us through the fun moments and the pucker moments, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, it was one of the fun moments was we consistently broke speed records for this boat surfing downwind. We hit 17.2 knots, which I want Jim Taylor to know. That is a record for us. The previous record was 13.2.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, in the 2016 race, which you remember was pretty windy as well. And for the most part, things were going well, but we were trying to maybe keep a little too deep in these kind of conditions. And we actually had a middle of the night windward knockdown. Thank God we had the preventer on. I'm sure it saved lives, but we were actually on our side until people came up on deck and were able to release the preventer in a controlled way, and the boat then got back on her feet and we were able to recover. But if you've seen the Volvos where they have the canting keels and they have the windward knockdowns, and it takes a long time to recover, it's exactly the same situation. To the credit of the boat, there was no down flooding. The boat's buoyancy was sufficient that we didn't have really anything but some spray down below, and we were able to recover from that. And then the recovery was slow. After you have something like that, everybody's exhausted. Then you want to get back racing, what sail to put up, and we had another couple of kind of screw ups where we didn't have enough people. We tried to do a jibe, wrap the spinnaker, and so I'd say the whole thing probably slowed us down by 4 hours. We spent 4 hours recovering from that and then trying to get back on our feet. The next day, again, a judgment call. I wasn't on watch, but the boat was going really well. We were surfing down the waves, with an A1. And we had the A1 up because it was sort of light. Then it came on strong, 24 knots, poof, A1 blew up. So that was just a bad seamanship call. It's, sometimes people are really good sailing sport boats around the course, and if they wipe out, they wipe out. They can recover. But when you're doing ocean sailing, you have to be a little more conservative. And we probably would have gone just as fast with a jib top or the A3.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a mistake. So other than that, we had some wear on the lines. There's chafe on the halyards. We fly the A sail off a pole, so we're old school. So we have a couple of S sails that are very powerful weapons in a race like this, because we can go dead downwind as long as the wind is sufficient.
Yeah, as long as you go down too deep either, right?
Yeah, we had an S4 in 30 knots of wind, and we were doing great until we weren't.
Yeah.
So, but it you can do good things with that. So, it was we were sort of staying high. When I say high, staying sort of to the west, trying to wait for the wind to shift to the north after this high pressure system moved through, and probably waited a little too long, but we finally did jibe, and the wind did shift. And again, it was a north wind, very unstable, 30, 40 degree shifts within a 2-minute time frame. So you really had to be on your toes to keep the boat moving and maximize the speed.
Did you keep track how many sail changes?
You know what? I didn't. This was actually surprisingly not as many sail changes as we normally do. I remember Annapolis Newport race in 2019. We had one, sort of a spinnaker reach down the Chesapeake Bay, turned the corner, went upwind, and we did 22 sail changes on starboard tack. But I would say one of the things we did do is we swapped out because we fly the A sail off the pole, we swapped out the guys because they were, we were concerned about chafe, as well as they're very rigid now because they've been stretched so much.
Yeah.
And chafe on halyards was a big concern, and I'm going to have to replace a lot of running rigging after this race.
I think this was a very good race for sailmakers and riggers. That is absolutely the common theme I've heard so far.
Absolutely right.
But I think a lot of it seems to be contributed to that sea state that everyone keeps talking about, this sort of the pumping of everything that's not normally happening.
Yeah, we kept more backstay tension and check stay tension. We have a check stay, old school again, more than we would normally do in a downwind situation, just to stabilize the rig.
Yeah.
We did have the first couple days, a few of our crew were seasick. It was pretty bad, so we didn't really do a lot of cooking the first night. One of the things we like to do on Temptress is have good food.
Yeah.
We have an oven and a stove, and we cook fresh food, and we don't do freeze-dried. We don't have a water maker. We actually don't have refrigeration. We just use an ice box and frozen food, and it works out great. So
you got a few extra meals left in the can.
We have a few extra meals left. And they're good food. My wife made all the food, so it's great.
Almost
all the food. Another one of the crew members' wives made a dinner for us, which also hasn't been eaten yet.
Well, let's go back to the preparation with something you said about the incense stick, which is actually kind of cool. That's a little...
The which?
The incense stick.
Yeah.
It's not something you normally find in a race, but was that...
Yeah, so, we have one of our crew members, a really good sailor. He brought some incense sticks because when there's no wind, that's the one way you can really find out.
Yeah.
The other thing we have a wind seeker, which is a nylon sail that's a very helpful sail when you think there's absolutely no wind. You put it up and you find out there actually is some wind. There is some gradient wind that you can actually plan
You
for.
just can't see it. Yeah.
You just can't see it and you can't feel it.
Yeah. So, but to that point about preparation, again, getting these boats ready for this kind of race, you can't predict everything, but the maintenance of the running rigging, did you do a full refit, or were you just going on what you had?
Well, no, I did a refit when I bought the boat, and I bought the boat in 2014 and sailed it for a year, and then did a major refit in 2015, 16, everything, rig, just everything. Took the rudder out and just kind of went through all the systems. This year, it's been 4 years since we had a Bermuda race, so it was time.
Yeah.
So I pulled the rig out. Went through all the standing rigging, went through all the running rigging, replaced the fuel tank, Actually, the week before the race started, we replaced the fuel tank and replaced the mainsail track. So, we have one of the Tides type of mainsail tracks that's pretty easy to replace. Fits in an old boat rope style. So, you can't do too much preparation.
17, was it 17 or 17.1 knots is the top speed?
17.2.
0.2. All right. So what's it like on Temptress at 17.2? Where you?
It's a lot of fun. It's surfing. You're surfing down the waves. I mean, it can't do that without the assistance of gravity. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, the boat's very stable. As I said, I give credit to, Jim Taylor and Mark Lindsay for making a rudder that keeps the boat on her feet. We've really never had a broaching problem on the boat. We just, you break the flow and you keep her on her feet no matter what. So
that's cool.
It's great.
So run me through the crew quick. How many did you sail with and who's with you this week?
So we sail with 10. And I have my son, who's 30, good sailor. My daughter, who's 31, very good sailor, collegiate sailor, former naval officer. My navigator is sailed, he's done, I think, 4 Bermuda races with me on this boat and other boats. Dexter Hogue, terrific sailor. Mark Sertle, Nick Sertle, Mark's son. What do you think now? Tim Grimes, Johnny Gasicki, Rebecca Mazzone, Chad Dickinson. I think I got everybody.
Boy, that's pretty good after being up all night.
Yeah. There's been some dark and stormies involved too.
As there should be, yeah. So you guys finished what time last night?
We finished this morning at 4:08 a.m. Yeah.
Pretty sailing, or was it hard to get in? A lot of boat handling to get to the finish line this morning.
Oh no, it was pretty tame. I mean, as I said, we went way west, so we were coming in across the reef and just kind of playing the shifts. We didn't want to get too close to the reef, obviously, so we went by all the buoys on the North Reef. And then, once we were able to crack off, we put the S2 back up because we were sailing with the A3.
Yeah.
That's what we had left. And then we put the S2, and then we jibed in, and it was pretty tame at that point.
And do you know where you stand on the results? So they seem to be absolutely changing by the minute. This morning.
I don't have any idea. Yeah. No,
at the end, it doesn't really matter, does it?
It doesn't. I know we didn't win. Yeah. I'd be shocked if we won. But after spending 4 hours basically going nowhere, when everybody else is presumably moving forward.
Yeah.
But we'll find out.
So you were the chairman of the 2021, right? That
Lucky
did not
me.
go. So you are responsible. Well, you and COVID, right, for this pent-up demand. Did you feel that sense?
I think that a lot of people. I mean, COVID was something none of us expected and none of us really knew how to deal with.
Yeah.
But it became obvious to us early on when we were doing a safety at sea in March of 2020, and our doctors were saying this virus is spreading like wildfire. You should cancel the safety at sea. And one of the things the CCA does is we're very proud to provide enough seminars and education for people to get the training that they need to have the experience to go offshore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we couldn't offer those courses, that jeopardizes our entire safety profile and the protocols that we like to adhere to. So afterwards, people said, well, we can make the decision in a month or two, and then it became obvious that we had to make a decision now. And for the most part, competitors were very appreciative that we made the call fairly early in March, so they didn't have to spend a lot of money preparing their boats for a race that then would be canceled maybe 30 days in advance or something. So we canceled pretty much as soon as we knew we couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think that people are really ready to go sailing again. I mean, COVID's still here. We know it's still with us. It's a fact of life. It may be with us the rest of our lives. Yeah. But we have to keep living and do it as safely as we can.
Certainly. Keep sailing, right? Yeah.
And keep sailing.
All right, so let's close with what was your, I know there were many highlights, but your personal, if you're to really sort of close your eyes and think about the best moment for you in this race, what would it be?
Well, I would say finishing and being with my son and one of my daughters. That was probably the best thing. Finishing and nobody was hurt. You know, we had some damage, but damage can be replaced. Nobody was hurt. Everybody had a good time, and we made a lot of good friends. So it's the best thing about offshore racing is to have a great experience and arrive safely.
And right into the darkest stormies, the whole crew last night or this morning?
Oh, this morning, yeah. No, I insisted that we get some food on deck. We had some quiche, we had some breakfast sandwiches, we had some cheese and crackers, and that got eaten.
Yeah.
But the dark and stormy went pretty fast.
Dark and stormies for breakfast. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Especially in here.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're going to be back in 2 years, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep going.
You know, I may be Commodore in 2 years.
This is true.
And the Commodore typically doesn't do the race because we want to have somebody on the ground. Yeah. But I'll be back for more races for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dave.
Welcome to the island.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, go jump in customs line again. We'll get you longer.
Thank you. Thanks.